Welcome to Next Big podcast where we have conversations on different topics. So, it's just me again. We're going to be doing our Women's History Month episode for this week. And that is going to be episode 183. And we're going to be talking about Monica Lewinsky. Now, we did have our an episode on Bill Clinton, I believe in September. I can't remember, but we'll link to it in case you're interested in listening to that one if you haven't. And we did briefly talk about Monica Lewinsky, obviously, but this is going to be more focused on Monica Lewinsky and also kind of what she's done with this situation that she unfortunately was put in, and how she's advocated for women because of that. So let's get into it. Monica Lewinsky, born July 23rd, 1973 in San Francisco, California, is an American activist, public speaker, and writer who, while a White House intern in 1995 to 1996, had a relationship with U.S. President Bill Clinton that became a scandal and led to his impeachment. Lewinsky, who was raised in Beverly Hills, California, began an internship at the White House in 1995, which led to her relationship with Clinton. Transferred to the Pentagon in April 1996, Lewinsky, then aged 24, was befriended by a co-worker named Linda Tripp, who secretly recorded telephone conversations about Lewinsky's affair with Clinton. In January 1998, Tripp turned the tapes over to independent counsel Kenneth Starr, who we did definitely talk about during the Bill Clinton episode, who was investigating business dealings by Clinton and his wife, Hillary Rodham Clinton, with an Arkansas Housing Development Corporation known as Whitewater, an inquiry that failed to turn up conclusive evidence of wrongdoing by the Clintons. On January 17, 1998, the Drudge Report published the first report of the relationship. Starr was given permission to expand the scope of his investigation and use the Tripp tapes as evidence that Clinton had committed perjury in denying under oath in a relationship with Lewinsky. Lewinsky signed an affidavit denying the affair, but in July 1998, she accepted immunity in exchange for full disclosure and then testified before a grand jury. On the basis of the report produced by Starr's investigation, the House of Representatives approved 2 articles of impeachment, perjury and obstruction of justice. However, Clinton was acquitted of the charges by the Senate in 1999. Now look at him. The scandal thrust Lewinsky into the national spotlight, bringing both opportunities, notably. In 2003, she hosted Mr. Personality, a reality TV dating show, and ridicule. She later studied social psychology at the London School of Economics and graduated with a Master of Science degree in 2007. Having been out of the public eye for several years, Lewinsky returned in 2014 when she became involved in efforts to end cyberbullying, drawing on her personal experiences. That year, she also became a contributor to Vanity Fair magazine. Lewinsky later was featured in the TV documentary series The Clinton Affair in 2018. Which I'd never watched. She also was a producer and consultant for the TV anthology series Impeachment, American Crime Story. I also didn't watch. I want to. Which looked at the scandal from the perspectives of Lewinsky, Tripp, and Paula Jones. Jones had sued Clinton for sexual harassment over an alleged 1991 incident, but the lawsuit was later dismissed. We do talk about that as well in that episode. Lewinsky's immunity agreement restricted what she could talk about publicly, but she was able to cooperate with Andrew Morton in his writing of Monica's story, her biography, which included her side of the Clinton affair. The book was published in March of 1999. It was also excerpted as a cover story in Time magazine. On March 3rd, 1999, Barbara Walters interviewed Lewinsky on ABC's 2020. The program was watched by 70 million Americans, which ABC said was a record for a news show. Lewinsky made about $500,000 from her participation in the book and another $1 million from international rights to the Walters interview, but was still beset by high legal bills and living costs. In June 1999, Ms. Magazine published a series of articles by writer Susan Jan Gilman, sexologist Susie Bright, and author-host Abiola Abrams, arguing from 3 generations of women whether Lewinsky's behavior had any meaning for feminism. Also in 1999, Lewinsky declined to sign an autograph in an airport saying, quote, "I'm kind of known for something that's not so great to be known for." She made a cameo appearance as herself in 2 sketches during the May 8, 1999 episode of NBC's Saturday Night Live, a program that had lampooned her relationship with Clinton over the prior 16 months. In September 1999, Lewinsky began to sell a line of handbags bearing her name, under the company name The Real Monica Inc. They were sold online as well as at Henry Bendel in New York, Fred Siegel in California, and The Cross in London. Lewinsky designed the bags, described by New York Magazine as hippie-ish reversible totes, and traveled frequently to supervise their manufacture in Louisiana. At the start of 2000, Lewinsky began appearing in television commercials for the diet company Jenny Craig Inc. The $1 million endorsement deal, which required Lewinsky to lose 40 or more pounds in 6 months, gained considerable publicity at the time. Lewinsky said that despite her desire to return to more private life, she needed the money to pay off legal fees, and she believed in the product. A Jenny Craig spokesperson said of Lewinsky, quote, "She represents a busy, active woman of today with a hectic lifestyle, and she has had weight issues and weight struggles for a long time. That represents a lot of women in America." The choice of Lewinsky as a role model proved controversial for Jenny Craig, and some of its private franchises switched to an older advertising campaign. The company stopped running the Lewinsky ads in February of 2000, concluded her campaign entirely in April 2000, and paid her only $300,000 of the $1 million contracted for her involvement. Why? Because God forbid a woman, especially then, has this quote-unquote stain on her reputation for an older man in power. I mean, who is more in power than the President of the United States? Hate it here. But this is what I'm trying to get at is like, this man had power. This man had done this before. And since, because we keep talking about Donald Trump, and I understand why we keep talking about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files. But can we talk about Bill Clinton? Because we know he has to be in the Epstein files. He was on the plane. He must have been on the island. I'm just saying. This man is a really and truly, and he's disgusting. So he clearly took his power as the president of the United States and put that power on a girl who was 23 or 24 years old at the time that this was happening. Let's all remember what we were like at 23 or 24. A man like that, yeah, of course, could have had power over us. I mean, any man of a certain age, whether he's the president of the United States or he's a construction worker, can have this type of power over a woman, especially when she's that young. So it's like, she's damned if she does and she's damned if she doesn't. But at the same time, it's like she needs to make money because of all the she's endured because of this guy. And you're going to penalize her in that because of that guy. Like, he was the one who was married, he's the one that had, owed it to not only his wife, but America. She didn't. She was an intern. It's just, ugh. And yes, sometimes I make jokes in the sense, not so much jokes on her, but jokes on him of how stupid he was, like saying, and I quote, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." Again, he lied. That was him lying under oath. Anyways, before I get too much on my soapbox. Also at the start of 2000, Lewinsky moved to New York City, lived in the West Village. At the start of 2000, Lewinsky began appearing in television. Oh, I said this already. Sorry, I had to take a break, y'all. Also, at the start of 2000, Lewinsky moved to New York City, lived in the West Village. Or maybe I'll take that part out. In March 2002, Lewinsky, no longer bound by the terms of her immunity agreement, appeared in the HBO special Monica in Black and White, part of the America Undercover series. In it, she answered a studio audience's questions about her life and the Clinton affair. Lewinsky hosted a reality television dating program, Mr. Personality, on Fox Television Network in 2003, where she advised young women contestants who were picking men hidden by masks. Some Americans tried to organize a boycott of advertisers on the show to protest Lewinsky's capitalizing on her notoriety. Nevertheless, the show debuted to very high ratings, and Alessandra Stanley wrote in the New York Times, after years of trying to cash in on her fame by designing handbags and other self-marketing schemes, Miss Lewinsky has finally found a fitting niche on television. The same year, she appeared as a guest on the programs V. Graham Norton in the UK, High Chaparral in Sweden, and The View, and Jimmy Kimmel Live in the US. After Clinton's autobiography, My Life, appeared in 2004, Lewinsky said in an interview with the British tabloid Daily Mail, quote, "He could have made it right with this book, but he hasn't, and he is a revisionist of history. He has lied. I really didn't expect him to go into detail about our relationship, but if he had and he'd done it, honestly, I wouldn't have minded. I did, though, at least expect him to correct the false statements he made when he was trying to protect the presidency. Instead, he talked about it as though I had laid it all out there for the taking. I was the buffet and he just couldn't resist the dessert. This was a mutual relationship, mutual on all levels, right from the way it started and all the way through. I don't accept that he had to completely desecrate my character." By 2005, Lewinsky found that she could not escape the spotlight in the U.S., which made both her professional and personal life difficult. She stopped selling her handbag line and moved to London to study social psychology at the London School of Economics. In December 2006, Lewinsky graduated with a Master of Science degree. Her thesis was titled In Search of the Impartial Juror, an exploration of the third-person effect and pre-trial publicity. For the next decade, she tried to avoid publicity. Lewinsky did correspond in 2009 with scholar Ken Gromley, who was writing an in-depth study of the Clinton scandals. Lewinsky wrote to Gromley that Clinton had lied under oath when asked detailed and specific questions about his relationship with her. In 2013, the items associated with Lewinsky that Belier had turned over to Starr were put up for auction by Belier's ex-wife, who had come into possession of them. In May 2014, Lewinsky wrote an essay for Vanity Fair magazine titled Shame and Survival, wherein she discussed her life and the scandal. She continued to maintain that the relationship was mutual and wrote that while Clinton took advantage of her, it was a consensual relationship. She added, "I myself deeply regret what happened between me and President Clinton. Let me say it again. I myself deeply regret what happened." However, she said it was now time to stick my head above the parapet so that I can take back my narrative and give a purpose to my past. The magazine later announced her as a Vanity Fair contributor, stating she would contribute to their website on an ongoing basis on the lookout for relevant topics of interest. In July 2014, Lewinsky was interviewed in a 3-part television special for the National Geographic Channel titled The 90s, The Last Great Decade. The series looked at various events of the 90s, including the scandal that brought Lewinsky into the national spotlight. This was Lewinsky's first such interview in more than 10 years. In October 2014, she took a public stand against cyberbullying, calling herself patient zero of online harassment. Speaking at a Forbes magazine 30 Under 30 summit about her experiences in the aftermath of the scandal, she said, "Having survived myself, what I want to do now is help other victims of the shame game survive too." She said she was influenced by reading about the suicide of Tyler Clementi, a Rutgers University freshman involving cyberbullying, and joined Twitter to facilitate her efforts. In March 2015, Lewinsky continued to speak out publicly against cyberbullying, delivering a TED Talk calling for a more compassionate internet. In June 2015, she became an ambassador and strategic advisor for anti-bullying organization Bystander Revolution. The same month, She gave an anti-cyberbullying speech at the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. In September 2015, Lewinsky was interviewed by Amy Rabosh on Good Morning America about Bystander Revolution's Month of Action campaign for National Bullying Prevention Month. Lewinsky wrote the foreword to an October 17 book by Sue Sheff and Melissa Score, Shame Nation, The Global Epidemic of Online Hate. In October 2017, Lewinsky tweeted the Me Too hashtag to indicate that she was a victim of sexual harassment or sexual assault, but did not provide details. She wrote an essay in the March 2018 issue of Vanity Fair in which she did not directly explain why she used the Me Too hashtag in October. She did write that looking back at her relationship with Bill Clinton, although it was consensual because he was 27 years older than she was and is in a position with a lot more power than she had, in her opinion, the relationship constituted an abuse of power on Clinton's part. She added that she had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder due to what she had experienced after the relationship was disclosed. In May 2018, Lewinsky was disinvited from an event hosted by Town & Country when Bill Clinton accepted an invitation to the event. Just paving the way for the man, huh? In September 2018, Lewinsky spoke at a conference in Jerusalem. Following her speech, she sat for a Q&A session with the host journalist Yonit Levy. The first question Levy asked was whether Lewinsky thinks that Clinton owes her a private apology. Lewinsky refused to answer the question and walked off the stage. She later tweeted that the question was posed in a pre-event meeting with Levy, and Lewinsky told her that such a question was off limits. So why aren't you respecting her wishes on that? Anyway, a spokesman for the Israel television news company, which hosted the conference and is Levy's employer, responded that Levy had kept all the agreements she made with Lewinsky and honored her requests. In 2019, she was interviewed by John Oliver on his HBO show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, where they discussed the importance of solving the problem of public shaming and how her situation may have been different if social media had existed at the time that the scandal broke in the late 1990s. Lewinsky started her own production company, Alt Ending Productions, and signed a first look deal with 20th Television in June of 2021. And that is Monica Lewinsky. So yes, this was our second to last episode for Women's History Month. We'll have one more I lied. Two more. We have two more episodes for our Women's History Month episodes. But yeah, with that being said, guys, we will see you on Monday with our 3-topic episode. Bye, everybody. If you liked what you heard with our podcast, you can head on over to our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. There you can get any of the links to any of our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod. You can also find links to our Reddit page and many other things, I'm sure. Can't remember all off the top of my head. You can also email us at mikeltanyka@gmail.com. There you can send us any inquiries you have, any questions, or also any episode ideas. And if you do have episode ideas, just make sure you put in the subject line episode ideas, and we'll add it to our list. If you also liked us, you can like us, rate us, follow us on any of your favorite podcast apps. You can rate us, however, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll also move forward and share or spot a light on those who give us 5-star ratings in the future. That is it for us. We'll see you next time for the episode.